You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
This makes my nipples hard.
Hey there, today Paul and I are heading beneath the steel sky. Have you played that game? I'm not asking you, Paul, I'm asking them, because I myself had never even really heard of this game before we decided to do this episode. And Paul's like, hey, we should check out another game by Revolution Software. So turns out this game, based in Australia, who knew, was released in 1994, and it's kind of this science fiction point-and-click adventure style. Shocker, point and click. And it's got like this great dark humor, it's got mystery, it's got like a big city where I'll give you the storyline in a minute, but ultimately you're trapped way up in the top of this tower, and for various reasons you can't get down. And what's interesting about this game is it's Australian, so everything is a little bit backwards. So Blade Runner, obviously, you've seen Blade Runner, Paul.
I think it's, hi there, hello. I think it's upside down, maybe not. I feel like backwards is like a slight on, So, everything's kind of backwards and fucked up. But it's
kind of backwards over there. It's like how them toilet flushes. But no, it turns out it doesn't actually do that either. That's a rumor thing. It depends on how a toilet is designed. But that's for another episode.
Yeah, maybe Mick can let us know. But I just was telling my son how it's winter in Australia right now. And every time, it just blew both of our minds, mine all over again. Of just like how. And like it's the same planet. And then I looked further into it as an adult. I'm like, now I can really grasp the concept. I'm going to really just buckle down and understand this. And it was confusing. Something about the tilt and the rotation and the whatever of the Earth. Anyway.
And now it's 11 degrees in Australia, and that's kind of a funny thing. A Celsius, by the way. We're talking Celsius.
It means nothing to me, yeah.
To them is cold, and to me is like, it's a typical fall day. But
and to me, it's like 11 plus 11, I think, and then like times 32 or whatever. No, 11 times 11 plus 32 is fucking not worth it. I don't know, and I don't know.
Not worth it.
Yeah, so.
Not worth it. But I digress. Say you're trapped in this big city. Well, in Blade Runner, if you were up in the high hierarchies, you'd be high up in the towers, because all the rich people were way up high, and all the poor suckers that didn't have the ability to be out of the muck would be down on the dirty, gritty streets down below. And in this game, the poor people, the schmucks, the workers, everybody gets to be way high up in the towers, and they're prevented through codes and through hierarchies from getting down below where all the rich cool cats are partying and kind of living it up. So it's kind of neat how it's flipped around on its head that way, this game.
Right, fits the Australian theme, right? Everything's happening upside down in a sense. I really like that, because it was the first moment in this game, and it wasn't long into the gameplay, but I don't know, maybe 30 minutes into gameplay where that becomes apparent. And it was the first moment in the game that gave it its own personality, its own carved out essence here. Because we should say too, this game is largely like a cyberpunk game. It's a dystopian future. I think it fits pretty fairly into cyberpunk. And whenever you're dealing with cyberpunk, it always literalizes a corrupt hierarchy. Like the powerful live in the heavens, like you were saying, and what's a grandiose way of saying it? They're mistaking altitude for transcendence, or something posh sounding like that, right? And
that's a cool way to put it.
And then the poor inhabit like the underworld below, living as you said nicely, in the gritty shadows of it all. And this game flips that around. By the way, if anybody really loved Blade Runner, and cyberpunk dystopian stories in general, check out the first season of Altered Carbon. Not the second season. Don't.
Don't.
It'll actually kind of fuck up your enjoyment of the first one. That's a whole little side quest I won't go on. But Altered Carbon is an amazing show, and it does the same cyberpunk trope, which is where the rich live high, etc. And it visualizes that in a really cool way. Anyway, as Anna already said, this game flips that on its head, and I thought it was cool because it becomes a really cool gameplay mechanic. So you're like struggling your way down because you're trying to escape too. So it makes sense. Like you wouldn't escape upwards, right? Towards the. I mean, unless it was like Die Hard and there's helicopters coming, you need to get to the roof or whatever.
Yes, fair enough.
Clearly, yeah. But for the most part, you're trying to get the fuck out of there. If you're being chased by like Michael Myers, you shouldn't run upstairs.
Right.
You need to get
here.
Yeah.
Let me give everybody a bit of a history. So actually, okay, I played the floppy version, and it's not a talkie. And Paul played the talkie CD version, and it turns out there's like a whole comic that gives a full prologue to the game, which is actually voice acted as a comic in the CD version. Dave Gibbons wrote it and was trying to kind of establish your main character, Robert Foster's history before you can like get all in there. So if you want to see the comic, because it actually did come in the floppy version, but there was only a digital version of the comic in the CD-ROM box. But you can go on GOG, and it's right there in the free version, and you can read through it. It's cool. It's classic comic style. But it kind of begins, there's a young Robert, and we don't know that or his name, but he crashes in the Australian wasteland, and this place is called the Gap, and he's just little. And a local community out there, they raise him up. And they called him Robert Foster, because they fostered him, but also because there was an empty Foster's Via. How do you say it with an Australian accent?
I can't do Australian.
Foster's Via. No, I'm sorry, Jess. I'm sorry. But they found a can near the crash, so they gave him that name. And as he grows up, he gets like these technical engineering skills, and he creates Joey. And Joey, who is an absolute delight, even though you keep essentially killing him, but this little sentient robot, and you've created him and his whole personality, and it's stored on a removable circuit board. And a lot of the electronics that's on this planet, they're kind of run by this removable circuit board system. So sometimes you'd find like garbage cleaning robots or other robots you could take over. As you go throughout the game, you'll be transferring Joey into various bodies. But anyways, so what happens is the Union City security forces, they arrive in the Gap, and they entirely destroy Robert's community and abduct him. So Joey's circuit board survives with Robert, and that starts immediately into the game, because at that point the transport that has him crashes into Union City, and he gets to escape into the recycling plant. And all of a sudden you're there, and it's cool too, because if you actually have the documentation, you get a little Link security manual, and Link is the security program that kind of runs this tower. So there's these giant eyeballs. If you think like 1984 or something, they're the all-seeing, all-knowing eyes that always know what's going on. And even very close to the beginning of the game, after you've crashed and you've ascertained your position, whatever it is here, the eyeballs don't always behave in a way that you would expect, which is fun, because there's this little underlying connection and undercurrent of mystery, like a story that flows overarching the entire game that gets uncovered over the process of the game, that I thought was really well done.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for laying out the backbone of that. A few things. So one, this is just some Australian stuff I want to say. I really like the way Australians say no. I can't describe it, but it's really satisfying. And also a lot of Australians, when they say H, they say it with an H, so it's H.
Right.
Which is also just fascinating. Okay. That's all the Australian stuff I have to say. Actually, that's not true. There's a lot more Australian stuff.
There's a lot more as we go into it. Yeah, well, but I'm not going to give it all to you now. I got to make you wait for it a little bit.
Yeah. Whereas I am impulsive, I'm going to say one right now. So I played the talkie version, which is, I was just going to say voice acted, but that's circular. We get that. That's what talkie did that for us. We get that. Okay. So Anna didn't, right? Also established previously. And Anna texted me at some point, and she's like, I just love the Australian vibe of this game. And I was just like, I don't feel that at all. And it's all because the voice acting in the game was all English or American. There's like one or two Australian accents in the voice acting, they're not main characters. But it was so interesting, and I just imagine from Anna's point of view, like, yeah, if there wasn't for the voice acting, it probably would feel a lot more Australian. But it's not Australian enough, because it doesn't take place in the bush, which they're calling the Gap. Which I'm guessing the Gap is just a substitute for the bush, but I don't know, who knows? Maybe Mick or Jess or any other Australian listeners could correct me if that's wrong. If there is something called the Gap there, and I really like the name of the Gap. That's just that was good storytelling. Like the Gap, it has such a
really good. It's visual, isn't it? It's big and it's open. I loved the Australian phrases. For example, sus. They said sus a couple times, which I
broke your resolve. You're saying Australian stuff. Sorry.
Oh, it happened. Okay, my favorite one in the whole wide game, I got to give it up now, was when what Joey said when he got to the welder robot, and he said it's the Mutts Nuts.
Is that Australian?
It sounds. I mean, have you ever heard it's the Mutts Nuts? Tell
Right,
me,
no.
like Mick, Jess, tell me. Any other Australian listeners that we have out there? Robin, what is that a thing
Robin,
you've used recently?
Yeah.
I'd really like to know.
Now, because that being said, none of the writers were Australian, so it's 50-50.
Yeah, it was all
at this point.
it was a British game. It was a British company. Okay, so here's something interesting. In this game, when you're doing something, the other characters are going about their little routine circuit. And what they did was they used something called the virtual theater system. And it allowed the characters to move in and out on their own routines, which meant some of the puzzles, for example, you would have to wait for a robot or a character to go through a cycle for you to be able to do your next placement in it. And I wondered how they were able to give each character, including your little helper, his own kind of autonomy. Because sometimes he'd be a screen or two behind you. But if you go and look, he's doing his thing. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was never a benefit to the gameplay. I don't like it. I respect them for what they were doing, especially when you remember this was developed in probably 93 if it was released in 94, which it was.
6, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I get the little NPCs. It's like early NPC engines sort of stuff, but like in the adventure game in itself, like it was always annoying. Like I spent a really long time looking for Lamb at one point. Getting Joey when you needed him in the elevator often took a while. Like it was that for the nerdiest among us, I had to look. So virtual theater was essentially the engine that they used to make the game, as Anna mentioned, and I wanted to know because Revolution ported King's Quest VI to Amiga. Which was, I don't know, I just like that's a fun little fact. Very rarely did these companies, cohabitate or cooperate. And so it's always a little weird and interesting to me that that Revolution took that on. And it turns out that was more SCI than this. But that's what they had done right before making this game anyway.
Mm-hmm. So. You're right, though. It was released in 1994. That was my mistake. I just jumped the gun on the years.
No worries. Numbers they're hard. There's so many of them. It's crazy. Back to a few things. So when Anna was laying out the skeleton for the story, I guess you could say it's like, so it's dystopian. It's in a future. We've left the gap. You could just contextualize this as essentially the bush, the middle of nowhere. We've been brought to the city where the skyscrapers reach into the heavens and are unfathomably tall and also dystopian and deteriorating and not what they once were. And then there's this system Link, which I was predicting was going to turn out to be AI, and that's not the case, but I won't spoil the ending. But Link is just kind of this omnipresence, as Anna said, with the eye always watching. There's Link terminals everywhere, which are really fun because you can take different people's key cards and use them in Link and get info on them.
It was like Police Quest. Didn't that remind you of Police
Yes,
Quest?
exactly.
Like so much. As soon as I entered that system, I'm like, I know what it's like to be here.
No, so much so I made a note in my little dev journal. I'm like, do this. Implement a little computer thing in one of the games because it's too much fun. Like it's so simple. You just look at a computer interface and click through the screens and read, fictional local news, and I'm just like tickled the whole time to hear. It's good world building too. You found out like there was like hooligans robbing people, and there was an unacceptable amount of human feces in the meat in one of the stores here. I was just like,
yeah,
wow.
I screenshotted all of them. I thought it was great.
What's an acceptable amount?
Well, I love this. Revolution was an interesting company too. They began with like very little money. They were in their way, their own. They were more Sierra than LucasArts. Like their very first office was this tiny room above a fruit shop, right. And their first like big purchase was a gas heater. And at one point in one of the interviews, Cecil mentioned that they had to open the window because of just there was so much fumes while using it, but they needed to have it going at the same time. So once the production of Beneath a Steel Sky began, they had Charles Cecil, Norrin Carmody, Tony, you know me and names, but Tony Warner and David Sykes. So and they were like running on the tailcoats of Lure of the Temptress. So that was like Virgin Games gave them a bunch of funding, and it kind of allowed them to finally move into a bigger office above a fruit machine arcade in Hull instead.
Right.
But it was. Do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, two things. One, it's probably better to think of Revolution, or at least in the early days, as closer to Wadjet Eye than Sierra or LucasArts, right? There was only, I think, I'm sure I'm wildly wrong about this, but there was only like 5 or 6 key people anyway. I
Yeah,
don't know.
not very many.
I lost confidence as I started saying it, but it's better to think of it as probably a larger indie situation than anything else. But to the production, there was also some fun facts, like you said, about above the fruit shop. But the office had no heating, so in the wintertime, the programmers were making this game wearing fingerless gloves because they were so cold, but they needed their fingers to touch the keys. And Dave Gibbons jokes that much of the game is fueled by bacon sandwiches. So it's definitely not a glamorous upstart here by any means. The other thing we should mention too is just establishing what's going on is Dave Gibbons had a lot to do with this game, and he's quite a notorious artist for the his most famous work, I guess you would say, would be with the Watchmen comic book series. So he's, the Beneath the Steel Sky comic book was done by him. Obviously Watchmen is iconic, so it's significant to the degree that actually when journalists would go see Revolution at trade shows, they were bringing Watchmen comics for Gibbons to sign.
Well, yeah, that's how Cecil had met him. He met Gibbons when they were attempting to license Watchmen for Activision. So Gibbons didn't even have any direct experience making games, but really, really wanted to collaborate and combine art with technology.
Right, and then how they did that, which is interesting, is that much of the artwork was literally faxed between Gibbons and Revolution. So Gibbons was doing the work at home and doing clean outline work and sending that over to them via fax, and then they were essentially digitizing the fax and coloring it in.
Within 32 colors, and there was a lot of technical limitations that made the game what it was. It was very small number of pixels that they were working with, and working with comics, that was a little bit of a different thing to think about altogether. Right.
It was absolutely beautiful Pixar, infinitely more interesting to look at than the Broken Sword games. I stand by it. It's a really good looking game.
There was King's Quest influence, and they've mentioned that in interviews before, but Charles felt that those games, they treated their fantasy settings very seriously. And so he wanted a fantasy setting, a dystopian setting, but that also had humor involved, which is, of course, what gets right to my heart immediately, because it did have that cheeky little Space Quest kind of humor kind of vibe going.
Right. Yeah, it does. It's writing-wise, it feels like Broken Sword to a degree. Like if you've played Broken Sword and not Beneath the Steel Sky, you can get a good enough feel for it in that regard. It's not too heavy in its dystopian themes. I mean, that's not true. It becomes increasingly so as the game goes on. But in the what would you say? Not the everyday dialogue, but the majority of the dialogue, like the overall take of the game is more cheeky than dark and dystopian.
And it's cool, too, because it shifts. I felt the shift. Like, for example, at the beginning, you're just like, oh, my God, how do I get the hell out of here? And then all of a sudden, as the mystery starts to deepen and things start happening to people that somehow you're attached to, even though you only met them for one conversation, it becomes more like, what is the mystery? Like, what are they hiding? And how am I, as Foster, how am I so central to everything that's going on? Because as the game goes on, you end up finding out you're not just some schmuck. And there's this irreverence to the way the game treats you wandering around just talking to everybody. Like, oh, there's a security breach. Oh, yeah, huh? Yeah, they're like, oh, we're searching for somebody that shouldn't be here. And you're sitting there in your overcoat. And you're just like, oh, yeah, weird. No, I'm just here for a safety inspection. Or maybe you're like, I'm just here for, it gives you a few options. This game everybody has a treasured object in this game, whether it be their coat or something else, and you can always ask something conversationally about it. It's just so funny and different.
Yeah, let's go into the walking everybody through the story.
Yeah, let's do that, because you're right. You're Gap to Union City.
Right, Gap to Union City. So basically, we should mention too off the bat that Robert Foster, who the entire game I called him Robert Lozier because of the Robert Lozier, like Robert Foster, just had the Lozier, just had that vibe to it. But you get through the intro. I could clarify this too. So if you played the floppy version, you would kind of need the comic book. The comic book's like it is the intro.
I was totally lost because I didn't even know until after I played. So I'm like, what is with this crash here?
Right. Okay. Interesting. Man, just goes to show you the way the product was intended was that you would have received it in a big box and gone through the feelies and read that. Right. So that's so cool. Unfortunate for you, but cool in spirit. The CD-ROM version, it just gives you the comic book in the intro, right, with a little bit of camera movement. So Robert Foster is all we know is that we've been abducted. They kill the people that raised us, which was a dick move because they didn't have to. The whole reason we gave ourselves up was so that they wouldn't hurt them, and it seems like they shot them all when we were leaving. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. It was kind of quick. Anyway, you quickly learn that you are really important. You don't know why, and they can't kill you. Like, you have to be taken alive.
Yeah.
To the degree that once you take control, well, that's skipping it. It doesn't matter. To the degree that one of the guys involved with abducting you loses his temper and goes to basically kill you, and one of the Link always watching security systems comes online and kills him.
Yeah.
So they kill their own to protect you.
Not that you can't die, because in this game, you very much better damn well save it, because you will die.
Yeah. Yeah, which is nice. There's some good death scenes. You can die on the first screen falling down the stairs, which is a really lovely animation. But anyway, it's good. It's good writing. It sets us off knowing that we're important and we don't know why. And so yeah, we've arrived at this. What is it? It's like a recycling plant, right?
Yeah, it's a recycling plant, and all he kind of has is Joey's circuit board and a bunch of scraps around. So he's kind of like, he's the outsider immediately. And just trying to, but like, that's what he thinks. So that's I think they were really trying to give you that feeling of being the outsider at the beginning, which makes the various reveals throughout the game even more emotionally interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, he has to, his first job is essentially, let's get this robot rebuilt after escaping kind of the first screen. So he has to figure that out.
Yes. 2 seconds before that, you have to solve a quick little puzzle to get through a fire door, and that did annoy me because, like, I don't know why you'd have to unlock a fire door. But then, once you do get through the fire door, you, on the other side, see that it's just a straight fall down many, 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 many stories to your death. So it actually kind of justified itself, and I felt stupid for yelling at it. I was like, oh, that's why it's locked, because it's no longer safe. Or an effective fire escape, it was just death. Okay, right. And then you said, so we have Joey's chip. There's like scraps and junk everywhere. You kind of get the vibe that, you're looking for somewhere to put Joey's brain in. And that was really exciting. My note for that was like, I hope we get to change Joey's shell a bunch. Because it's such a fun idea. Like, your sidekick is a robot and you have this chip that's his brain and you can just put him in all these different bodies. Like, wouldn't it be so cool if we get to do that? And we kind of do. He changes bodies more than, I think 3 times. So you kind of do. And it's fun each time, darn it.
And especially because before he has to lose his other body, so you kind of get to see how he gets smashed up.
I didn't understand this until we were talking about the comic book this morning off air, but what did you think of the capitalized word choice?
Right. I didn't understand it at all, but I figured they were for accent or exaggeration. But after when I went and read the comic, I understood better.
The same connection.
I think that's a very, very typical comic thing that they do. And it makes sense because it brings drama and intensity.
Yeah, I've never been a huge comic book person, so I not enough to know. But it's like, as soon as I looked at that comic today, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing that all comic books do. And I don't even think I really realized that until this morning. Like, it all clicked. Nope. One of those things that your brain knows, but you don't.
I agree.
Yeah, it was weird. I didn't like it in the game so much just because it makes you want to yell certain words. Maybe like modern social media has done that to us with capitalization or text messaging. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe it didn't hit that way back in the day as yelling, but man, it made me want to yell the weirdest words.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So that's fun. Anyway, we find a robot for Joey, a little body, and we finally
and he hates it. He's like, this is the most limited fucking place you can put me in, guys. Thanks. Yeah,
Joey's really like jerky boy kind of attitude. I really liked him because everybody, especially making Phantom Fellas where there's like a sidekick, you get compared to anything with sidekicks, and there's not a lot of sidekicks in adventure games at all. No. Not to this degree where it's like, I don't know.
Because he works with you, and at the very beginning you're like, hey Joey, how do I get down? He's like, you could jump off the railing.
Right, yeah. Right, thank you.
Thank you.
And to the point I was struggling with there, it's like he didn't disappoint. I was told to really like Joey. He seemed to rise to the top of most people's lists when it came to sidekicks, and he doesn't disappoint. He was super fun off the bat.
I kind of wish we could go back in time and talk about sidekicks on that episode again, just so I could bring Joey into the mix.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I wish it's almost a different word than sidekick that I'm looking for, because it's like whatever the game version of co-host is. Like it's, it's more like your I guess partner in a sense. I don't know. That calls for just a whole different sidekick conversation, because that brings Keith into things. Good old Keith Robinson from Police Quest 2. That's more side quest, or sidekick. He's just kind of there, kicking it and useless.
Right, Joey's a partner. He'd like Sam and Max. Robert and Joey.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit. Because it's like you literally, every time you don't know what to do, like you can just kind of go, hey, Joey, why don't you try to open that door? Or why don't you insert your probe into the back end of that robot and stand there for a while, pulsing.
I'll say this game, I think, pioneered two things that stood the test of time with adventure games. One is the two-click interface, where it has the... I mean, to the degree where if you download AGS and go to play a game, you always have to choose what style. Do you want like a verb coin? Do you want a top-down Sierra thing? Or do you want what they call the BAS for Beneath the Steel Sky system? I really like how they have look as the main left click and interact as the right click, because it really forces you to look at things first. And I'm so anal about that myself that it's just felt so good that somebody else respected the order of operations that these things need to be in. It was really good. And then the other thing is, too, and this is, I don't think they were trying to revolutionize anything, and it probably took 15 years for it to actually catch on. So it's more just a foreshadowing than anything else. But it is like that 6-hour adventure game that all modern adventure games try to fall into now. It's, you know what I mean? It's like it's not like small and short in a rip-off way. It's just it hits that 6-hour pocket pretty nice.
It was really satisfying, because I was just excited to keep playing. And I didn't want to stop. And then when it was over, I wanted more, instead of being like, man, some of these games are so long that, like, I kind of felt that way on Broken Sword too a little bit. I'm just like, man, there's still, look at all that walkthrough left still. Yeah,
it depends on the quality of the game for sure.
This game took 2 years. This game took twice as long as the second Broken Sword game, and frickin' heck, you can tell.
Yeah, exactly right. So story-wise, here's what's important about this recycling plan thing. Essentially, is that the guy who was in charge of kidnapping you gets killed by Link, as I mentioned, because he got hostile towards us. So we know that we're really important, and we don't know why. That's been established. And then the other thing, too, is that when you rob that man's corpse of what it has, as you do in adventure games, probably real life to a degree, don't do a murder, you get his broken sunglasses, and then you get his security card. And what the game's establishing now is that bureaucracy and access privileges are everything in Union City. So the whole vibe here. Also, by the way, it's called Union City.
Welcome to Union City.
Thank you. Yes. So a big part of this game now is access cards that will either get you up and down levels. There's ultimately 3 tiers that you have to make your way down, or it'll give you, like, when you use a terminal, depending on your clearance, tells you how much information you're able to do, and in some cases, what you're able to affect in the environment around you.
Yeah.
So that's what this whole recycling plan thing establishes. Now we're able to free roam at the very top of the world. It's very smoggy and gross. And we're going to meet this guy named Lamb, who's a scumbag, and go into his factory.
Right. Yes. And also it's funny at the beginning of the show, like, for example, when you try to use your ID card and you get, like, doxxed or whatever, because whatever the word would be, because you can't get a retina scan yet. And so the guards are like, hey, wait, is something wrong with your card? And then you're like, you can either say, oh, yeah, there is, or you can say, no, I got porridge on my card. And if you choose that, Buddy's like, yeah, you know what? That happened to me too.
Right, yeah.
And you have this little moment with him. And he's like, don't worry about it next time. People, it's just hard sometimes, right? And you're like, yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, no, that was a great moment in the game. It's a really good misdirect, because you're like, this is so absurd. Why is he even saying this? And then the guy's like, oh, yeah, I totally know what you mean. Yeah, it happens to the best of us. That was good. Okay, before we get on to Lamb in the Factory, I just want to retread, as I always can't help but do. Dang it, I'll get this figured out one day. Okay. Yeah, there's a timing-based puzzle before this where you have to steal the wrench. And this took Strummer 7 times to get. It was painful. It's really quite hard. I think you get a little bit less time after the very first one, but you have to get a guy out of a room and then run into his room and open the thing, and I was trying to, I guess this is worth sharing because I think part of the reason it was so hard for him, I was trying to make it more fun for him by using like one of those presentation mouses, like where I think it's mouses when it's computer. I don't know. Because I know it's mice if they're animals. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Maybe that sounded
I think it's still
stupid.
mice.
Maybe I could sound more smarter. I don't know. But you think it's still mice?
Yeah.
All right. Well, now...
Meese. That's for moose.
That is, yes. That is actually... So I was using this little thing where it's like a little handheld and there's like a little tiny thumb wheel. And it looks like if point and click adventure games had like a console style controller made just for the optimized ideal of pointing and clicking, it would be this thing. Mm-hmm. But I think it made the timing based thing a little harder.
Yeah.
But man, for the larger part of the game, it was a really good way to keep him engaged because it's like just enough like motor skill fidgetiness to move the little ball with your thumb. Sorry, this is probably annoying without a picture of it. Let's move on. My note here says Joey started the. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I wish
that is what I was
that.
talking about earlier, but I was a
pulsing.
little more subtle.
Yep. Sorry about that. Sometimes I should read these notes before I read them out loud, kind of thing. I don't know why past me was like this, but yeah, he does. I mean, Anna knew right away what I meant. It's very obviously there's pulsing. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. I think it's probably made fun of I didn't get into I didn't research as far as Reddit and stuff on this game.
Well, actually, now that I remember, Robert says something about it afterwards. Like they definitely sexualized it. You couldn't help it. It was So anyway, after that, Joey flies down, and what am I trying to say with that? Oh, okay. That's too confusing to convey to everybody in a meaningful way. So what I'll just say is that this game takes really good care of timing. So there's certain times where Joey needs to do something, and the amount of time he's gone is really realistic.
Right. It is true.
Like there's a good attention to detail thing, like where it's like, oh yeah, that would be the next thing that happens if I was there, sort of thing, which is nice.
I like how the puzzles were done in this game. It wasn't always straightforward what to do next, but the puzzles it was a little different. Like every one of these games, it's just been a slightly subtly different type of a puzzle. It's not like you're clicking switches and buttons. It's a lot of timing based stuff. And then, inventory item based, things like that.
Did you notice like a very minimal amount of inventory items?
Yeah, it was very chill.
You use it a lot, not to contradict what you just said, because you're right. There's a lot of inventory puzzles. There really are. There's just not a lot of inventory. Like, for example, you have like a metal pipe that you use like 15 times. Like you
keep taking it back. That's how practical they were. Every time you did, even if you didn't need it, you could be like, I bashed this. I'm going to take my pipe back. I'm going to take my wrench back. I still need that wrench.
Right.
Like you mess up the machinery with the wrench at one point, then you're like, you can take the wrench again. I'm like, cool. I didn't expect it to let me. I thought it'd be like, if you need to keep it jammed, you need to keep the wrench in there. But it's just like, nope, there you go.
Yeah. I love the summary for this part of what you're describing here. This whole factory part is like, you bluff your way into the factory, you jam up production, you steal Joey a better shell, and then you start harassing the boss. And that's just so adventure game protagonist timeline right there, essentially. Where it's like you break in.
Guybrush, totally Guybrush.
Break shit, steal shit, bother the people, and then you're out. We're done.
Yeah. Oh, I love in that next part, they had pots, and he was like talking about his clipboard. Yet another thing people are proud of in this game. He's like, it's all laminated and everything. But then later on, you've got, I don't remember if it was for the Hot magazine or something else, but he's like, I'll trade you my clipboard for it.
Right.
It's like so funny. Just it's these little human moments in this game that really I have so much fun with. Like the other guy, that Joey, that big guy. He's wearing a beaver coat. It's made out of the last 10 beavers in the world.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Lamb has made out of the last 10 beavers in the world. And then you find out that Lamb has a cat, and you give him a hard time about how he takes care of a cat but wears beavers. Yeah, it's a lot like Broken Sword 1 too. It's almost hard to it's less like, one big LOL line and more just a lot of pleasant dialogue. It's just good. It's just good writing.
Like, listen to this. You're talking to Gallagher in the game, one of the characters, and he said, maybe your interpretation of what I say is different from my intention of what I say. And I'm like, straight up good. That's good, solid writing right there.
Right. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Beautiful line. And I was taking screenshots all the way through this thing. I was just having so much fun. I really loved the art in it. I really liked their use of pixels and colors. And yeah, it was an unexpectedly good game. When you see it from the surface, it doesn't have that much personality. Like when I first loaded it up, Jacob, my son, was standing there and he's like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, another, dystopian world. Yay. Like at the time I was having a hard time getting motivated for it. But then once I started playing, I was like, and he's like, oh, how's your game you have to play? And I'm like, actually really great.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that though, because I as far as, I guess, this isn't even a critique, it's just my own personal taste sort of thing. I've never been drawn to this game visually. Like, it was rare that I saw pictures of it or screenshots and was just like, yeah, I really want to, I got to play Beneath. I think, and I really, really like dystopian worlds in Cyberpunk, like a lot. So I think, like, the fact that it wasn't, like, I don't know, at nighttime in the rain with neon.
Yeah, there's no I didn't see any neon. I kept waiting for the neon. I didn't see any neon.
Yeah, and I hate to reduce it down to that, but there is something visually exciting about that I'm not sick of. I'm always down for it. There's like Among Thorns is a good adventure with that. Virtual Verse. There's a few of them out there, but anyway, yeah, it seemed visually it wasn't as interesting to me as on the outside as on the in, because once I was playing it, the environments still probably not like I guess what I'm dancing around here is I still probably would have preferred like a more on the nose dystopian look to it, but the individual screens they're good looking. Anyway, the whole point of this factory is essentially to introduce you to Anita, who in this first encounter isn't important, but she's going to open up the whole world in a few minutes here, podcast-wise. We'll get to Anita, but you get to meet Anita, which is important. Joey gets a better shell, so he upgrades from, I think, like a cleaning bot to a welder.
Yeah, which he has fun with. He's like, oh, hell yeah, let me out on there.
Exactly, which is fun. You get to do a fun little, you send Joey in to do a task thing, and that becomes a thing in this game, which I liked a lot, especially from my own point of view. Like when you get stuck in Phantom Fellows, essentially Oliver should talk to Engelbert. Like that's like the go-to will progress things no matter what. And while in Beneath the Steel Sky, it's not necessarily, well, it's not at all a hint system. It's often the solution is just getting Joey to do the thing for you, which I don't mind.
Did you realize one of the mechanics that took me way too long to figure out is you can take items from your inventory and click them on Joey and he'll tell you about them?
No, I made it through the entire game and didn't know that.
Okay, yeah, every time you click on, like, for example, I remember I didn't clue in until I picked up the WD-40, and I clicked it on him, and he's like, oh, yeah, like, I could use a squirt of that anytime. And I'm like, oh, he's even more helpful than I thought.
Very cool. No.
Which is something I hadn't thought of dynamic-wise if in the Phantom Fellows, because they can each kind of look at the inventory items, so you didn't have to do that. But in this game, you have full control over it, so you just kind of like, hey, look at the thing I have.
Right. Right. In Phantom Fellows, no matter what you click on Engelbert, he says, ew, do not touch me with that.
Yeah.
It still makes me laugh. I'm like, yeah, that's still better. That's still better than help, actually. Because it somehow just stays funny. Like, every time, it's just like, ew. Don't do it. All right, anyway, sorry. I mean, it stays funny to me, obviously. So, the point of this, too, okay, so you do the little... It's not really a co-op puzzle. You send Joey in, and then you get to look through vents in the wall and watch what Joey's doing. And the game does that really well. Again, you get this real-time feel. The amount of time it takes Joey to get there it's all correct. It's not like, I think in a lot of adventure games they kind of cheese that, where it's like as soon as you look through the vent and the screen changes, they just put the character where it's supposed to be. Whereas in this game, like, it's all just going on whether you look or not, which was really, really cool. And I think a good example of the virtual theater system at its best, because that was cool. The virtual theater is what allowed Joey to have his own little mind and go off and do that, etc. So that was cool. You get to meet Lamb. Lamb's important. First of all, he has a dope coat. It's nice art too, nice little like cheetah print looking. I mean, it's it's beavers, but still it looks more.
10 beavers, the last 10 beavers left in the world, Paul.
Exactly. And with that said, he becomes the game's like first great like corporate buffoon. He's like the kind of the early representation of this class divide of, here he is in his fur coat, doesn't care about, animals and things like that, and he's just cold money only sort of guy. There is a twist in his story, but right now that's all we know. So, I mean, I guess this little factory thing is doing a lot of work when we put it that way. That it's introduced Lamb and the kind of corporate bureaucracy and divide between. You get a sense of how Lamb's mistreating Anita. Anita tells you because she has a I forgot their name for it, but her social score is a 0. And because her social score is a 0, she doesn't get radiation protection, for example.
Right.
Which is pretty extreme, but regardless, we get the point of how this works now. So it's really good. The last thing I'll say about this, and then we'll move on to the next one, the middle level setup, is in this game you pick up some blue putty, which is explosive putty that we'll use in a little bit here. And I just want to say that when Strummer picked up that blue putty, in his real physical IRL hand was blue silly putty.
Oh,
and it was super
nice.
weird. Yeah. It was so strange. I was so excited about that.
Well, there's lots of little real world connections too. Like, in the middle section where we go to, you talk to this doctor and he's taking hits off of his own nitrogen. And it took me to Steve Martin in the Little Shop of Horrors, the dentist guy, immediately. Yeah. Because that's what he did.
What I loved about that is that it's really subtle and it doesn't happen right away. Like it's almost kind of hidden, like not hidden, but yeah, you have to kind of look for it. And then always you're like, wait a second, did he just...
He's like digging in a cadaver, and you're like, why? He's like, because you want to learn things, science.
Right, just playing with insides.
If you don't keep doing it, you're going to forget about it, so you might as well practice. And he's so funny because he does all these, like, he helps you with 2 kind of procedures in the game. And in the first one, you're like, is it going to hurt? He's like, no, not really. And the second one, you're like, is it going to hurt? He's like, yeah, definitely. And it represents as such.
Right.
So good.
He, in the talkie version, he has a German accent.
Does he really?
Yeah, they give him like a not jokey, they give him a tropey, twisted German
That's funny.
Yeah.
If anybody was to have a German accent, it would be Potts. He's the guy with the clipboard. He offers to trade his clipboard for your jacket because he kind of looks maybe a little bit like Hitler.
He does. That's in my notes. Yeah, the guy in the brown coat looks like Hitler.
Yeah. Which is funny because he wasn't playing a bad guy or anything else. It's just funny if that was where the accent was going to go.
Bloody Mengele, Josef Mengele, I think. There's a German Auschwitz,
Doctor
one of the worst. Yeah, thank you.
I remember.
I guess that's where all, like, whenever there's like a, demented scientist, I think that's why they give him the German accent. But it did, the talkie version to a degree, I definitely think I would have liked the non-talkie better.
Yeah, I loved it. One of my favorite lines in the whole game I just got here in my notes. Better to leave your husband's funeral than to let a dog puke outside than to let a dog puke inside.
Right. Mrs. P something.
Yeah, that was good, right?
Yeah, that was good.
So good.
All right, so let's go to the mid-level. So
let's meet Anita.
We've got, we met Anita back at the factory, right? So we met her. She's not wearing a radiation suit. It's not going to work out good for her.
Let's meet the second phase of Anita.
Yeah, right.
Because now that you've gotten to know her very briefly.
Yeah, so right before that, we're going to go down to the middle level because we have a security clearance card that's going to let us do that. So we go down. We're finally down a level, and this was a big win, right? Because you're a good hour, 2 hours, whatever into the game by now, and you've finally gotten down one of the levels. We're going to go raid Reich's flat. Reich is the guy who kidnapped us and who got killed for trying to hurt us or losing his temper and trying to hurt us.
He's a big fish guy, turns out.
Right, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, he's got a soft side. He's all about tropical fish. So we're kind of feigning as Reich right now because we're using his card to get around. So we might as well go into his flat, which we do, and we get a magazine underneath of his bed that'll come in handy. And there's a few little businesses here, like Anna mentioned. There's the I don't know, plastic surgeon doesn't do it justice. The bioengineer, I guess you could say, the German guy.
Oh, and that office is great. There's like pictures of like nudity. There's the super enhanced like breasts and butt and face and like exaggerated to the point of being disturbing, which your main fellow comments, Robert, he's just like, ugh, like that is not okay.
Right. my notes on that just says titties.
Yeah.
It was
That
exciting.
was very exciting.
Yeah.
It was very exciting.
The aesthetic on the inside of the buildings on the second floor is really cool. It's like
Yeah.
futurism meets early 1980s, like wood wall panels,
Yeah.
you know, but like futuristic with like big CRTs like embedded in the wall. And I don't know, it's very cool.
And the modern art, like for example, there's this man and machine modern art piece where the travel co is and the insurance agency. And it's like it's a representation of something that was trying to be beautiful and a little bit out there and thought provoking. But you've got garbage strewed everywhere and food splattered on the walls and broken machines and parts everywhere. And it's just really, what is the word? A dichotomy. Between all of the different ideas. Like you can almost picture where civilization thought they were going and where they ended up.
Interesting. See, I had a completely different take on it that was completely a result of things I've been looking into lately. So it doesn't degenerate
Do tell.
your take. Well, I was looking at the specific art in that scene as, well, in the negative sense, modern. Like it wasn't beautiful, and that seems to be the direction that art has taken. As far as like, I don't know, you hear it called like the war on beauty sort of things, like the juxtaposition between like, you know, a Michelangelo or Da Vinci painting and a banana taped to a wall. So you know what I mean in that regard, which, you know, that's a whole other thing. But since that kind of thought has been in the back of my mind, it definitely got projected onto the scene where I saw that piece of art in the center of just being this bland. Because as you notice, I guess I'll build my case for it. It matches the floor. It's essentially just concrete. Like there's nothing salient about it. The art. It's just like a vague shape with a proclamation, but the art itself is really lacking. There's you know what I mean? I don't know. That was my take on it anyway. And then as a result, it's like, you know, just garbage strewn about it, and it feels like a representation of the state of the current world as it is.
Like, because the most beautiful room art-wise, outside of when you get later into the lady's apartment, is probably in the travel agency, because you've got a giant painting with like the mountains and the. But it's so much a fantasy by that point, because technically Travel Co. Which, do you love the guy working at the travel company? He's got his feet up on the desk.
Yeah. No, you know, I want to stick with that mural thing you brought up, though, because that ties into my notion with the art out there. Is that because I noticed that too and wrote a note down. It says the mural of the mountain is nice, and then quote, how things used to look is what Robert says when you look at it. And that was salient. That like stuck out to me as it had impact. Like the painting had impact because it was beautiful. His comment on it was nostalgic and I don't know, what would you say? Not
Wistful.
wanting. Thank you. Exactly that word. Thank you. That was so clutch. And so if the art in the alleyway that we were originally talking about, it supports, I guess, my train of thought to that degree, where it's like, if that was like a true beautiful piece of art, wouldn't we have written notes about the art instead of the mural? But like the mural is the thing that had actual beauty, whereas the art out there was dull and gray. Anyway.
Right, because even when you go into people's apartments, it's kind of like you've got your giant TV, I love the giant VCRs that represent in this game that you can actually use. They look like heat registers.
Right.
Or like just this really weird boxy, like sticking right on the floor kind of a deal. But the most personality you'd get would be in the individual people's apartments, because you get to see at least 3 of them throughout the course of the game. And I thought it was kind of neat because they were very like steampunked, because 1980s in the future, like what the future could be like, but still also in the 80s.
Yes, exactly. And it did that thing that we did back in the day when we dreamed about the future, where like hyper-specific things got their own gigantic clunky machine that did it for you.
Yes. That's well put.
Like, I don't know, what the cat feeder, I guess that's an example of like this gigantic huge metal thing, and it just spits out some cat food for them. But yeah, you're right, the interior design here, like that's when the art started to take off. You get to explore a lot. You get to see, what is it, travel agency, the bioengineer, and then the 2 apartment buildings, one at first, and gosh, what is the other one? There's 2 stores. What's right next to the
insurance agency?
Thank you. That's
and
insurance.
yeah,
Yeah.
Anchor Insurance, and then they've got the the don't get washed away, get an anchor policy, which I thought was great.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
And that's the whole thing too, because your whole, essentially the point of being in there is to steal their anchor.
Yeah.
Which is so much fun.
It is. That was a fun one too. And it's the second time now the game's sent a character away, and you have to capitalize on that. And it was fun. Yeah, that was good.
I'm trying to think. We played a game that did that. Was it Techno Babylon? No. It was one of the other games we played, and you had to go into a store, and it was a steampunk style one, and make the guy go into a storage room so that you could accomplish something. Or was it even Monkey Island? I can't remember. But you had to do a thing. We just recently played a game where you had to do that, and you had to go into stores. No, it was definitely based in the future. It was not Monkey Island. Can't remember.
That's all right. It's good to have a little mystery.
It is good to have a little mystery.
Well, listen, let's move past this level because there's still a lot to go. This one doesn't do a whole much. We'll just say that essentially it's a puzzle chain that involves like giving a magazine that you find to the tour guide so you can get a ticket, so you can use the ticket to get a tour of the factory. So back upstairs we go to Lamb's factory where Anita is, and this is where the game completely hooks me and opens up. As of this point, I'm honestly like, I was a little disenchanted. I'm like, I don't know if I'm even that into it. It was all right, maybe that's a little harsh. Like, it's not like I was considering stopping or anything. Like, I was having a good enough time, but
the most interesting factory tour you've ever had is what brought you back. No, wait, that's actually pretty boring. But the interesting comes after.
Right, and it's true though. It did turn out to be the most interesting factory tour because it completely hooked me on the story. Yeah. So yeah, Anna, why don't you cover that a little bit? So we're back in the factory, and this is when we get to have a good conversation with Anita that is arguably like a big old exposition dump, but it had to happen, and I was happy with it.
Yep. Yeah, you kind of find out a little bit more about what's going on, and behind it. She talks about the digital, like what's the undercurrent running underneath the world, like about link space and delinks and essentially hacks your card for you, right? She did that earlier though, but
no, she's doing it now. Yeah, you're right.
Is she doing it now? Yeah. So she downgrades Lamb, and then you get to go into the computer and mess with his whole life at this point. You can take all of his money, you can freeze all of his assets, and kind of humiliate him instead of kick his ass. And that's how you get through to him in the game and make him less of a threat, actually, too. Right.
This was important. A few things weird happened here. So yeah, Anita teaches us about link space. We find out that she's a hacker. There's been hints, if you're looking at the terminal and reading the news, that there's like a band of let's say revolutionaries, activists, hackers that are unhappy with the current state of the world and the corporate control of it and things like that, and links increasing grip over everything. So you get the sense that she probably is part of them. I think they were called Hobart, maybe, or no, Hobart. Doesn't matter. So we find out, there's like, revolution sort of thing going on quietly in the background with a lot of hackers. She's able to hack your card for us and tells us about this implant, Schreiberman port that we can have like put into our brains that we'll go see the crazy scientists about later. And essentially because of her little hack that she gives us here on the spot, we're able to have better access to what's going on in the city. So
unfortunately, not her.
Yeah, which was so weird. So we ask her out, and she doesn't say no. My note was like, she didn't say no, you dolt. No. But she said perhaps another time. But she said perhaps another time because she had to decontaminate or something. And he took that as a no, and it was so frustrating.
Yeah, I agree, because that was not a no, and it was open-ended. So
okay, so we take this anchor that we stole. Long story short, go back up to that fire escape that was a huge drop-off point, grapple across that into a different building, crash through the window. He's like, this could
be one of the stupider things I've done. And he says that twice when he does that kind of thing with it, which is also, it's very human. He's like, well, I could die now.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, you crash into there, and when I hit this room, I put down a note that said, well, this one, I love that expo from Anita. The feeling intrigued up the world. But no, sorry. Where is my... Well, it doesn't matter. I just so have happened to have put a note that said, okay, so this room is giving me Ben Chandler vibes. It looks a lot like Techno Babylon.
Yeah, it took me to Techno Babylon there too, yeah.
The way that Ben likes to, like, I don't know, creep light onto the ceilings and things like that. It just immediately hit me with, like, Ben Chandler, Techno Babylon. Less Techno Babylon and more Ben Chandler, but I wrote both down. Then, once we're in this room, we go into trance for the first time. We go into Link Space for the first time, and that's when I realized that the trance from Techno Babylon is clearly inspired by this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, you remember...
Good call.
Yeah. It's kind of the whole same idea. The trance in Techno Babylon is a much more fleshed out, had 30 years to think on it version of this. Mm-hmm. But it's essentially this, where you go into a very abstract, digital-only place. Even the initial color palette hits you. It's like a lot of saturated blues. Like, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, reds,
unquestionable.
blues.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
super
Browns.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Link Space is weird. How would you describe that? Your inventory changes. It gets really abstract.
Okay, so this immediately took me to the Phantom Fellows when you were in the vending machine. In a way, it kind of touches on the idea of just transferring yourself and being within a space to work within it. But yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of like you get, how do I describe it? You end up in this world where you're still overwatched by the giant eyes, much like you are in the real space. But there's each room is its own program, and up in the inventory bar you have programming ideas, and some of them you even need to separate. Like there's a yin and a yang, and it's red and it's green, and you need to work them in your inventory. You can decompress things. You can there's a Charon. I don't remember what that is. It's so hard to explain. Lawnmower Man. Anybody seen Lawnmower Man?
Good job.
Or like, that episode of The Simpsons where Homer ends up in a virtual space and in behind the wall.
Dude,
there.
that wasn't an episode. That was an event.
It was amazing. I love at the end of that episode how he ends up in the real world. That was like the icing on the cake. It was so satisfying.
I think they teased that on the Super Bowl or something. I'll never forget the hype around seeing 3D Homer. It was so cool.
It was huge. It was like the Dancing Baby with Ally McBeal. That was a whole...
Oh, God, right.
Yeah, the whole thing back then. But that was right when the innovation of tech and computer animation started combining with the movie aspect. And as adventure gamers and FMV fans, we're just kind of like, yeah, that's definitely a thing. But for the normies out there in the TV world that weren't playing games like that, it was like, oh my God, combining tech, is this the beginning of the future?
Speaking of that, I remember right before this when Anita was giving us that exposition dump, she had said that she was going to download her jammer to our card, and I was like, that probably sounded pretty whack in 93, but it's it turned out to be just basic shit now, like an RFI or something, just really simple little things that we do all the time. Our RFI being, unless I probably have the wrong acronym because I'm so imprecise.
RFID?
God,
Stuff like that?
I don't know what when you tap your card, it's that sort of technology. That's it's not that crazy. We actually just use it all the time now.
Yeah, it's a regular thing. But yeah, so you're in this space and you're on a grid, and sometimes on the grid there's a puzzle you need to figure out, and sometimes you're just collecting inventory items. Later in the game, you need to do things, but you don't want the eyeballs to watch you, so you have to have a tool to kind of disable them. So the fun part is just exploring, because your inventory becomes the programming ideas.
That's a good way to put it.
And your body is just kind of like a virtual shell. So you look like a general body, like your face
avatar.
Looks... Yeah, your face looks the same as a bust you pick up that has the same kind of face as you. It's just a representation. But whatever you do in this virtual world influences the real world, which... what game was it now? I have to remember the name that I just played with Mike. Oh yeah, Darkseed. It's kind of like the first Darkseed, because there's a flip reverse world in it, and everything you do in this backwards world, in the mirror world, affects the real world in an opposite but real intended way. So it's kind of like that. You're in a place that isn't the world, but the things you do changes the world. So you get to go back here various times, and it reminded me of the early internet It reminded me of, it was actually really comforting and fun. It was like a game within a game. Like, I don't know how much time and effort and thought they put into this aspect of the game, but it was an absolute delight to me.
Yeah, it is almost like a digital sort of, or
Yes. Well put.
I like what you said, where your inventory becomes, it's how you interact with the computer. Like there's like, like a decompression inventory item that just like unzips documents essentially. It's quite abstract and creative and fun and short. You go in there, I think overall 2 times, and they're both. It's not. Maybe 3.
It's 3, yeah.
Yeah, 3. It's not a huge. I don't know. You don't dread it. It's just like it was fun. It was well played. I misled us a little bit. Let's finish that real quick. So we get through Link, and essentially what we've done there is, hack the system. We get out. This is where we take Lamb's money and clearance away. We give him a social score of 0, let's say.
Yeah, we jam him up so he can't take the elevator because he's freely taking the elevator, and in that you end up being able to connect with him a little bit.
Exactly. So essentially that's really crucial there, and then.
And it's his worst fear realized, because he kind of hints at the fact of that not having the ability. Like, this is a big deal to have that taken
he's all
away
about
from
the
him.
optics. This dude's like, he's like a modern influencer. Like, all he cares about is optics and what he looks like. So yeah, it's his worst nightmare. Where I misled us, and Anna, you had the right instinct here, is that the Schreiberman port thing with the doctor does happen before this. We needed that Schreiberman port to even get into this. So let's just really quickly give a Tarantino, Nolan, out of order sort of moment here, and imagine we're back in the doctor's office about to get the Schreiberman port.
Right. And so this is cool because there's this virtual assistant head that pops up before you can get into there. And she's kind of like, yeah, fuck you. You're not getting in here and I don't really care. And you end up having to go to your little buddy. And Joey ends up talking to the hologram and being like, figuring it out for you, which I thought was a nice little touch too, because it was just so quick and easy.
Right. Yeah, it was. The little hologram is fun, and and then you find out that it's the doctor's wife that he put her in there. You go in there and you tell him that you need, this Schreiberman port thing, and he's basically like, okay, well, I'll do it in exchange for your kidney, your lung, or your testicles.
So you start offering them up one at a time, testicle being last, of course.
Yeah, it's not even an option at first, which is funny.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be.
And it follows the flow right all the way through. It did really well with that, too. It was funny.
Yeah, essentially you try to do the kidney, you try to do the liver, both of which come with a really cool animation, by the way, where you stand behind the little x-ray screen. I just really liked that. The transparent body representation was really cool.
Me too. I love that.
Yeah, and then they do like a little Blade Runner, like zoom in on the organs itself, and it was all very, very nice. So anyway, those don't work because you're too healthy, which was...
Nobody would want it, and if they did, they couldn't afford it.
Right. It's great commentary on the state of things there. You've lived out in the gap, essentially, as, a naturalist, let's say, and so you're too healthy compared to everybody breathing the smog in the cities.
Exactly.
So it turns out you have to do the testicle, but the good news is that he doesn't need your testicles until you're dead. So that's great. You just, instead of selling your soul, you sell your testicles, essentially.
And then to give you the port, he lowers this like giant helmet thing on that goes all the way down over your head to your shoulders, and you just look like you uncomfortably squirm for a while. It's like, okay, it's done. You good? Yep, I'm good. Okay, cheers.
Yeah, got something shoved in your head. While I think if all the voice acting was essentially Australian, it would have helped more with immersion. I will say that the guy who did the German voice acting was really, really good. Really exceptional. Really, really exceptional. There's just, I don't know. Some of these lines, you wonder how they even put themselves in the heads, especially with adventure games, especially with lines that aren't part of a narrative, where you just have to say an adventure game thing, and I don't know. He did a really good job, so.
I like it. And remember when he was talking about his wife, then he's like, aren't you sad that, your wife is now a hologram and you don't have a real woman anymore? And he said something like, she's a lot less trouble than when she was alive. It's cool.
Right. Yeah, that was...
It's like, dude, you're high on nitrous, but okay.
that was a very, early 90s Al Bundy joke.
Right.
Essentially, yeah. I should also say Robert Foster's voice actor is really, really good too. Definitely exceptionally good. Okay, I had a note here. This is just a quick little rant note. See, this is why I'm weird about keeping dialogue around in Phantom Fellows. I missed one line because of Strum, and it was the line I needed to know, and now I can't have it again.
Aw, yeah, they do take it away from you.
It's there's no right solution to this because there's annoyances in how I do it in Phantom Fellows and other games too, where it doesn't go away. And yes, me and others have tried. You try to reduce it. You try to just leave what's necessary, but sometimes it's like a whole branching path to get there, so you have to leave the whole path. Or you can just take it away, and then that usually is the better choice, except for when it's suddenly not, and you're having to almost restore a game to hear a line again, which is what happened to me. Because the doc tells you the name of the guy you need to go see, and I missed that. And I was like, I don't know who to go see, and like it was arguably quicker to load my last save than to talk to everybody to see who was the right one, right? So anyway, just a little dev note there. I don't know, I didn't write in the note here, but at some point Joey says, "This is bullshit, Foster," and it made me laugh.
Yeah, me too. I wrote that in my notes. I was like, they swore. I love it when they swear in a game so much.
It was rare.
Like that remember that was the Gabriel Knight episode where I said it was the very first Sierra game or computer game where I'd ever heard an actual swear word before.
Yes, yeah. You know, and sorry, it's like the third mention. I try not to mention Phantom Fellows too much in episodes, but one last thing is there's only one curse word in all of the Phantom Fellows, and it's also bullshit. It's the same as Steel Sky. It was the only curse word I caught, and it was bullshit, so it was fun. They did the same thing I was aiming to do, right? We just like hit them by surprise sort of thing. Like, wow, they haven't cursed this whole time, and then the presentation of it was perfect. It was exactly the way I'd done it, so I liked that a lot. Okay, so let's do a really quick recap here. So basically what had happened was Anita, she upgraded the card that we had, gave us the Retina Jammer. We used the terminal to strip Lamb of his status and to freeze his assets. That way Lamb is now stranded on the very top floor. So we go up to Lamb, we manipulate him into giving us access to his flat. We go into his flat, he's got a cute little kitty cat and a cat feeder and a VHS tape that you can take and put into the VHS thing and play. Reminds me of another game.
Pussies on Parade.
I love that you had to interject there because it made you stretch pussies out, which I won't do anything with, but it's right there if anyone wants it.
What did it remind you of?
No, I'm already maxed out on my 3 Phantom Fellows references for the thing, and I just did one like 2 minutes ago. But using, I'm fond of using videotapes in games and being able to play little things. That's what
it made me think of. I was so excited we could put it in, and you can actually put it in as VCR. And of course, Pussies on Parade. What would you expect? So the second you turn it on, you get a gigantic cat on the screen.
Thank you. Yeah, nice.
But you take it with you, and you get to use it later as as another puzzle solver. So
yeah. Exactly, the little hand drums thing that really helped. So we've essentially just got something that we're going to need later. Now, remember earlier when I said we had to Tarantino Nolan, you guys? Now we have what we need to go into to the link to with our Schreiberman port. So that's what we've done. Just a quick recap there. So we basically we had the mad scientist German doctor guy put the port into us. Lost our testicles in the future to it. He tells us how, you need to go see a friend. That was back when I was complaining about the save game or about the dialogue tree thing. We go see his friend, turns out to be the travel salesman guy. We end up getting tickets from him, and we steal his grappling hook, as we mentioned earlier, and then we crash into security headquarters. We go into Link for the first time. Again, we've walked you guys through this, just recapping, where we decompress data and decrypted documents and crossed like an abstract password maze. If a password could be represented as a maze in yin and yangs, we did that. That unlocked us Phoenix access, and we're going to need that. So now,
it gives you your special status clearance.
Right, exactly. And with that special status clearance, I'm so happy to say we're finally on the first floor. We made it all the way to the bottom, ground level.
Yeah, where there's in-ground pools and ladies with poodles. And it's funny, too, because you don't know who's going to help you and who's going to hinder you and who people are. You get to meet a mysterious garden, weirdo little kid, and a guard of a door and a lady walking her dog. And that's kind of your next group of characters they're pretty fun to meet, actually.
Exactly. I don't this time. Okay, I always leave something behind. I only left one note behind, and I just gotta quickly say, after we go into Lamb's apartment with the cat and we feed it, right? We get the videotape, we leave. You don't shut the door behind you, and there's no way to shut it. And that was so stressful as a cat owner.
Right. You're like, oh no,
he's gonna get out. Really, it was really unnerving. Okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
No, I like that. And I think I had a note for there too, didn't I? Let's see. Nope, didn't miss anything. Just that's a later on thing. Later on, you end up putting on some coveralls, and it reveals you have a teddy bear shirt.
Yeah, I love that, because earlier in the game they make a really quick reference to it, to what he's wearing underneath, and he's like, "Don't worry about it" or whatever.
Yeah,
I forgot the line, but it tells you he's hiding something good, and then it turns out to be like this adorable teddy bear Christmas sweater. It's quite a payoff. Okay, so we're on the ground floor, and immediately Joey unalives himself.
Immediately.
Yeah, and he's like, I guess he forgot that he couldn't fly, because his previous shell could fly.
Yeah.
And this one couldn't, and it was sad, but he's okay, because you take his little brain, his little chipboard.
Yeah. And you're like, there's just a pile of junk on the ground here.
I love the development side of that, because they're all just like, dude, I don't want to fuck with writing Joey lines for this whole thing. We don't need them. Can we just can we just get rid of Joey for like an hour of gameplay and bring him back when we need him?
Yep, that's exactly what they did.
Brilliantly done. Okay, so sorry, it's a very nitpicky note that I'm leaving behind. So anyway, we're on the bottom floor. This is great. We talked to a kid playing Game Boy, and we talked to Mrs. Piedmont, and this advances the story a little bit more too, because I don't know if her name's Piedmont, but that's what we're going with. She bloody knew your parents, so
right.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And you're like, who are? Because we haven't really discussed that. But I mean, throughout all of this, you're quite curious because your parents had both died. So you don't know anything about them. And so to be able to hear anything about them at this point was very important.
Exactly. Right.
Because you have no sense of identity. You're now even maybe realizing that you have an identity, but you don't even know what it is yet. So yeah, that appointment with her, or that conversation with her was quite something.
Exactly. There's one line here, I don't remember where Foster says something really catty to her. Where he's like, he's no oil painting. As far as somebody not being attractive, he's no oil painting. That's good, man.
Yeah,
I'm keeping that one.
I like that. And then you have the gardener guy, and he's working with blue daffodils, which ends up being a clue later, and some kid playing like a Game Boy thing and kind of ignoring you, which is so much, again, that's it nowadays, right? Back then he would have been playing like whatever, it looks like a tablet, right? Doesn't it look like a tablet?
Yeah, good call.
But yeah, anyways, these are your new characters, and then there's this exclusive club called the St. James Club that you can only get into if somebody refers you into there. So you kind of realize once you're down there immediately that that's going to be your end game goal.
Yes, there's also a courtroom door that's locked. When you look at the door, it says this courtroom door has a certain thing that Anna always says. Je ne sais quoi. There we go, yeah.
Je ne sais quoi.
So that was good. So yeah, we know we're going to have to get into the courtroom, probably. We definitely know we're going to have to get into this nightclub. So we follow Mrs. Piermont, that's her actual name. I looked it up while Anna said words. And
good job.
Thank you. We go into her house, we use the cat video to piss off her dog, and then to steal his dog biscuits, which is the second Revolution game now where we're dealing with dog biscuits.
I do love her apartment too. It's another. Yeah. It's very Leisure Suit Larry. This room takes me to maybe Leisure Suit Larry 5. You've got the oversized trees and paintings, the big TV inset into the wall, the huge light, almost as if it's a sun on the wall. So I believe that it's meant to be like when you're in her apartment, you're outside, even though you're inside. And I think it's kind of set up to look that way.
Yes. Yeah, good call. And then lore-wise, like, she is of the wealthiest, right? We're on the ground floor, so it's like the nicest house. And they did a good job of doing that justice. Like, it definitely looks a lot nicer than everybody else's. Also, when you walk in there, she's putting lipstick on in a mirror, and man, it is a fantastic little animation. It's so cute. You can see her wiggle her little lips. I mean, it's like 6 pixels, and they nailed it. Anyway, I love that. Then she starts talking to you, and she starts by saying, "I knew you as a baby," and then quickly transitions into, "Oh, how much you've grown," which was gross and awesome.
Yeah, that was good too, because I think he ends up asking her if his father's still alive too. So there's, he's starting to learn not everything is what you think.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I also like how like there's a cat video. It's like pre-YouTube cat video. It's a cat video.
It is. It's a cat video.
One of the lines says you have to avoid the edge or you'll get sucked off. And you can't say that stuff to Anna and I without it being put into our notes. So there's that.
Considering that video you sent me earlier today about deer calling.
Oh, right. Man, that's a how do you make eye contact with your competitors in a professional deer calling contest? I don't know. That was something.
They know.
Yeah, a lot of wrist movement. That was really anyway.
But anyways, she ends up, of course, because she knows who you are. So Mrs. Piermont is like, okay, I'll sponsor you to go into the club. So she goes and makes her comment, and you end up in, again, a very Leisure Suit Larry style club. You've got a hot woman in a mini dress and a couple of guys going around. You've got a band playing. You've got a jukebox. And at first, you don't really even know what you're doing in there. You can just kind of walk around and talk to people and stuff. But eventually, you end up having a little task you need to do.
Yeah. I'm going to take this moment to give my biggest critique of the game. Neither of us, we try not to be too negative, right? So I've just been trying to either ignore nitpicky notes of mine or whatever, but because it was a really good time and a great game. So I hate to do this, but it kind of has to be said because I made like 3 notes on it, and I want to know what Anna thinks. So the note as written, and then I'll go into it, says, I think the music is totally wrong for this game. It should have dystopian vibes, and it's playing more like a Leisure Suit Larry soundtrack. Now, granted, the top level is heavier, but it's more like imperial with commanding militant horns. There's no dystopian vibe to it. And then I was like, I know what it sounds like. It sounds like Indiana Jones in Hostile Territory music, which it exactly does.
It's so funny because I really liked the music. I had it running on my laptop in the kitchen. I played this whole thing while I was doing other projects. So I had the dystopian kind of military style music playing over and over and over and over for the 5 days that I was playing this game. And by the end of it, I kind of missed it when it wasn't on. I really liked it.
Interesting. I couldn't stand it. The music itself was fine. Because that would be harsh to anybody who made it that would be listening, but because it's perfectly fine music. It does loop too quickly, I think, but it doesn't fit the game in my opinion at all. Like there's nothing dystopian. Like there's like marching horns and like it's like kind of adventurous and exciting, and like at some points it's a little Leisure Suit Larry because of horns. At some points it's a little King's Quest because of grand adventure. But it's like it's none of those. It's supposed to be a dystopian. Like it just didn't. It's really jarringly doesn't fit the narrative of the game. Is my only point. I'm not alone. I had to look it up. First of all, the reason I feel bad even doing this is because it was scored by Dave Cummings, who wrote the script. So he, he's not a composer, and he never ended up doing another game again. He didn't compose another game again. Obviously, he was involved heavily in Broken Sword series of the writing. So it's like I hate to even critique him because that's not his bag, I guess you could say, right? But anyway, I wasn't alone. Adventure gamers at the time knocked it really hard as well. I wasn't alone in finding that it was a complete mismatch for the tone of the dialogue and such.
So funny. Nope, didn't catch that at all. Not a bit. I liked the music
enough.
Actually quite a bit. I thought it was much suitable, and I enjoyed every bit of it.
Man, well, fair enough. There's some good balance that makes my critique not as painful to whoever is out there defending it. All right, so. Where do you want to go from this? Do we go to the club? Do we go to the courthouse? What do you think?
Well, the club is first.
Okay.
We do the club first because the courthouse is after. And then in the club, we can do the cathedral as well. Just remember that the cute girl in the club was famed for her pogo stick antics. That leaves a lot of imagery.
It does.
Especially wearing that little mini dress. You're just like, oh yeah, how does that? Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the cathedral first. So we go to this cathedral. It's the whole thing. You distract the guard with the lady's dog. Hence why we got the dog biscuits. He jumps in the pool. Guard leaves the station. We go into the cathedral. In the cathedral, there's a bunch of like clones. Kind of gave me Space Quest 2 vibes. A bunch of clones in suits kind of standing there.
It was very reverent. Like you felt like you weren't really supposed to talk in there. Now, okay, this scene took me to a place that you don't know, Paul, but I know. And that's in the prelude to the Narnia series, which is in The Magician's Nephew, in that book that comes before The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when you're in the ancient city of Charn that had long been abandoned and the sun had gone big and orange but didn't put off heat anymore. You end up in this room where there was just like a bunch of figures, and there was this like reverence to it that you shouldn't talk, that you shouldn't touch anything, that you shouldn't speak, because there was this magic to it that if you did, you would end up disturbing it or breaking the magic. And that room in the cathedral gave me kind of the same feeling. And it wasn't necessarily a good magic either. It could be an evil magic. You still have to have reverence for it.
And which room was that you're describing? The cathedral itself?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Well, the
main hall, I guess you could say.
Yeah, the main hall area there, yeah.
Right, yeah. All right, that's fair. Yeah, it did have like sanctum vibes, like a I don't know, numinous chamber sort of feeling to it.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Okay, right. So you're in the cathedral. You're blown away by its majesty if you're Anna. You're pretty meh about it if you're me. If you're honest, I didn't get any of that from it, but that's all right. Maybe I was hungry or something. There's two rooms you could go in. One's a morgue. One's this void. What would you say? It's like an edge. Mm-hmm. It's where if you go any further, you'll get sucked off.
Right.
So you try to go further.
Not so bad.
The game doesn't let you.
Of course you try to go further. Who wouldn't?
And then you're like, well, fuck this room. There's nothing to do here. So you go to the morgue. Right. That's where you open up lockers and, oh no, it's Anita. I loved everything about her except for
her deadness.
Yeah, sure.
And there was a bunch of them. There was like a dead person, various dead people, one in each locker. So.
Yes, just kind of hastily crammed in there.
Very cold.
Yes. Yeah, it was good. It was really good art. Again, kind of those Ben Chandler sort of vibes were going on in this room again. This is where the game, I think, shifts a bit from like comedy to becoming more grim.
Right. And this is, like I said, in the cathedral, that is, I mean, you didn't mention it, but there was all the androids or the figures, right?
Yeah, Space Quest 2 guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what gave me that same feeling, right? Like they're all meant to be there, and you shouldn't like go around tapping them on the shoulders, you know?
Right. You wouldn't want one of them to come to life. Yeah.
I was thinking I was crazy for a minute by your reaction to it, but no.
No, he was just genuinely underwhelmed. I don't know what to...
I'm like, are we talking about the same place? No, we are. I'm looking at a screenshot. Okay.
Did you not experience the piloerection of awe when you stood in there? Man.
Except for in the book, you ring this gong and everybody kind of, the evil queen comes to life and stuff, and different things happen. But different story. That's fair.
Yeah, you see, I think you're projecting a lot of C.S. Lewis onto the scene. I don't have that baggage with me, so. All right. Well, yeah, so the tone of the game is going to start to get more dystopian. Like, it really, it leaves behind a lot of, like, the cheekiness and locks in on, like, okay, let's make this feel as desperate and dystopian. And I like that. I think it suits the game really well, basically, at this point. Like, the writing shines, too. So, all right, so this is where we need to go back up, all the way up to the top, to the factory, and get a suit on. This is where we get to see the cute Christmas teddy bear sweater.
Yeah. But all of this is essentially just to pick up an inventory item, which I thought there was going to be more to it in there.
Right, that's fair. And for the sake of the pacing of this podcast, we can essentially skip through this and just say that we had to go back, put on a radiation suit, go into a nuclear reactor where we find Anita's link card on the ground. Then we go back into link space, blind the eyeballs, collect a tuning fork, and find a message that Anita left for us. Because again, she was kind of like a revolutionary, so she probably expected her death, let's say, to a degree. And she knew that, because I'd really thought this through, being skeptical, but she knew that, like, she had given us a jammer and told us how to get a Sherbrooke import. Kind of makes sense that, you know, we would probably try to get her card if we could and find this message. Right. Which we do. And she directs us towards Eduardo, who we'll get into in a second. She also tells us about this, like, abandoned subway station and this virus mission. She was trying to put a virus in the link that she wasn't able to finish it. So we're like, okay, to avenge her death, let's say, and whatever's going on with me and my family, we probably need to see this virus thing through and shut it down.
So after that, you go back down with your newly acquired information, and you go back down to the gardener, and you get a little bit sus. All of a sudden, the kid's like, hang on, I'm playing a game and there's yellow daffodils. Those aren't daffodils. They're not yellow. This guy isn't a gardener. And, well, it turns out he's not a gardener at all.
Yeah, and I've only got 2 critiques left for the whole game. I've been pretty light on them, I think, for this one because I really enjoyed it. But this is one of the 2 left. This actually really bothered me. So it turns out the gardener's a mole. Fair enough. Like, he's one of the revolutionary people. He's worked his way onto the ground level where he's posing as a gardener. But the problem with that is that they've ruined the whole thing here with this one part where he goes... How should I frame this? He's telling you that, like, daffodils are blue. And, like, you know that they're not. And then they're also, you get hints that they're, like, covered in plastic. So you're getting, like, this vibe that he doesn't know much about plants.
Right.
And if that was the case, it would have really sold the idea that he was a mole. But then, for some reason, the game does this thing where he goes on this whole rant. I think it was just a joke that got away from them and they didn't realize what it was going to do. But he goes on this whole rant about how he loves plants. How he loves, like, he goes into, like, technical terms like stamen and, like, all, you know what I mean? He's, like, really vehement detail about how much he loves plants and all the little intricacies about it. So then it's just like, well, okay, I guess he is a gardener because he really loves plants and he just proved it. So, I don't know. That's just, it made me, because the whole time, imagine, you know, you as, like, the game, as the player, like, you're just trying to advance the plot and, like, I couldn't figure out what the hell to do. And then it's like, oh, well, it turns out that the gardener is, like, actually a mole, but, like, I was convinced that he was actually a gardener because of how much he loved plants, and I just thought there was some weird thing with daffodils in this world. And anyway, I didn't like it. And it also did that thing too where, like, you have to talk to him one extra time, and that had me stuck for a while too, like walking around trying to get into the courtroom,
I couldn't figure it out because I didn't know I had to talk to the kid to set off the fact, because the kid's the one that kind of tips you off on the plant being plastic. So I'd talked to the gardener a ton of times. I'd gone around and I didn't think to talk to the kid again. So that puzzle took me a long time.
Yeah, same. I mean, and my other critique, I'll just get out of the way now because it ties into it. Must have just been this part of the game was a little clunky for me. But, like, the court's closed. I don't know what it's called, but, like, with language learning, there's this thing called false friends. Like in Italian, like caldo is like you would think that maybe it's cold, so it comes across as like a false friend when it's actually the word for hot, right? So it felt like a false friend here because you click on the courtroom door and it says see link for forthcoming events. So I schlep all the way to the second floor to the closest link and read through all the papers with everyone's different cards that I have at this point. And I can't find any forthcoming events.
Right.
But it turns out all I needed to do was talk to the gardener one last time after exposing him as being a mole or whatever.
Right.
It was just very annoying. That whole part of the game just kind of annoyed the shit out of me. But it completely redeems itself by the court scene, this whole court thing.
Yeah, the court scene was great. Because you actually get to participate in the court case all the way through. You end up being like, well, I guess. And then, because they're all like, who's silly enough to defend this guy? And you're like, me? I guess I'm here now. I mean, why not? Sure. So.
And the best part of the court case, it's like, it's all about security guard, you know. Look, the long story short, as this case is unfolding, you realize halfway through, you're like, oh my God, I think we're the ones that did this.
Yeah, because it was the wrench that you jammed in the factory in the first place that got him in trouble.
It was so good. It's like, holy shit, we did this. We're the ones that are guilty.
And it's so rewarding because at the very end, you actually, like, at the end of the game, you give the wrench back to him. You're like, thanks for lending me the wrench. That was awesome. Call. Sorry for the trouble, mate.
Aw, that's such a good call. I didn't connect that back to the court thing. Good call.
Yeah.
That was so cute. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, anyways, and then during the court case, depending on how you answer, you either get awarded points or have points docked, and it's not necessarily for pushing the case forward, it's for something funny.
It's based on, like, your pageantry. Essentially, the judge just wants to see you be dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that whole scene, actually. I thought that was really well done. And then, because he's like, one of them was like, here's points for a well-timed interruption.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's nice, too, because it has every single option is a branching choice, a choose your own adventure style, polar opposite sort of direction do you want to take this in? And I didn't reload it and go a different direction, so I don't really know to what degree there's different variables, but it felt, I bought into the illusion if it was one. It was super fun.
Yeah, it was great. And then at the end, I don't know if it's whether you do it right or wrong, but in view of your service to the city, at first you think they're going to give him a life sentence, but they actually don't. So
right.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So now we're in the club. We needed to find a sponsor. Mrs. Piermont ended up being that sponsor because she's well-to-do, and so we go into the club, and essentially, this is a revolution introducing the idea of stealing something while somebody's looking right at you. Because, that thing you do in Broken Swords a bunch of times where you just take a thing and the guy's looking and the game doesn't care. That's what you do. You steal this guy's glass and his friend's staring at you the whole time and just nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
So that's fun. Great. This part's convoluted. I think we can just breeze through this. We steal this guy's glass. We take it to the bioengineer. The guy takes the fingerprints from the glass and burns them into your fingers.
Will this hurt? Yes.
That's right. Thank you, Anna. That's the payoff. Yeah.
And it does. You can clearly see it hurts.
Yeah. My note on that was this whole thumbprint thing is whack. So that's why it was like I was happy to play along sort of thing, but it's just like, man, it's a good thing that of the 3 machines the doctor has, one of them's a fingerprint putter on her. And, I don't know. That whole part was a little...
A port injector and a fingerprint putter on her and an X-ray device. A testicle remover,
Precisely.
A lung remover, and what was the other? A kidney remover.
Yeah. I guess looking at my notes, this part of the game did annoy me a little bit because I'm bringing this up to see if it happened to you too, not to bitch. But when you go to the shed, there's a shed in the game, you have to unlock it to get inside of it. When he looks at the shed, he describes it as an old school lock. Yeah. And for some reason that made me think like master lock. Padlock. Yeah,
that's what I thought too. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because then the solution is to slip your credit card, your access card, into the door and unlock.
Which I didn't get that at all. Same. I ended up looking that up because I should have just combined everything on everything, but I was not doing that.
No, I did exactly the same as you because I was really convinced that it was like a padlock and it was like a pick a lock sort of. You know what I mean? It didn't come across like at all what they intended, which is funny because in Broken Sword, I think it's 2, they really pissed me off when you use a card to unlock something in that. Yeah. I don't see the episode for it or whatever because I know I complained about it. But that's okay. Because
that doesn't work on every kind of lock,
Right, exactly. Okay, so now we've got the fingerprints that we need so we can enter the beginning of the end of the game, which is essentially breaking into this old underground subway. Right. Which, by the way, when you break into the shed, that it shows you a map of the subway, and you get an inventory item that you need there.
Yeah.
But essentially, how you actually break into it isn't through the shed; it's through the back of this nightclub that we had to get into. So we go in there. Now we have the owner of the nightclub's fingerprints as our fingerprints. We unlock the lock. We end up in a little storage room where we move some crates around, let's just say, to get up into a grill. Go a little space questy here, climbing through vents and such, and it's like the point of no return. Now we're officially on our way to the end of this game, and it gets really, really good here. And so,
like for example, there's all these veins that are covering everything everywhere you are, and it's like you can tell it's like the organic is merging with the building itself. And in fact, one of the puzzles is you have to injure the organic matter so that a bot can come and try to fix it so that you can distract them so you can do something else.
Yeah, I really like that. The game outsmarted me there too, because I thought we were just like, fuck you, pulsing vein things, I'm just going to stab you and see if you bleed out. But it was actually a larger purpose there of getting the robot to come. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I thought it was more just, battery assault sort of situation. And this is the part of the game where I was like, okay, it's not going to be AI. Like, I was thinking that Link was going to be an AI thing, and now it's like, okay, we're going more like an Akira sort of route here. I don't know.
Yeah.
The game fucked me pretty bad here. It's not the game's fault, because you can die in the game. It's just... Yeah. I just hadn't saved in a really long time.
Aww.
And you're walking down I don't know, did this get you too, where you're walking down the subway tunnel?
Mm-hmm. I died there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I died there too, and I hadn't saved in a long time. I had to go pretty... Oh, no, I didn't go pretty far back. My notes remind me here. Thank you, French guy from 2013 with the save pack. So I quickly Googled.
Good. Yeah, because is that the part where the tunnel collapses on you there? Or the part before that?
I don't remember.
You have to run because essentially the tunnel collapses as you're going forward, and if you don't get it, you die right there.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was 1 for 1 on that out of luck.
Oh, you got that. I died the first time. I'm just like, what? What? Because I didn't even know it was going to collapse on me.
Right. Oh, interesting.
I didn't know where to go either right away.
Right. I know. I just naively walked through it like, nothing happened. So that's interesting. Yeah. The part of the scene that killed me, for those who played it and have a foggy memory of it, or who maybe saw the Easter egg in Broken Sword, this is where that Easter egg was.
Oh.
Remember, I know from the episode you didn't actually see the Easter egg, but I just described it to you where you're Nico, you're in the underground subway, which is interesting too. Another forgotten
underground subway.
Yeah.
Good point.
And it's if you give the ghost chocolate, then you get to go to the left side of the screen, which is further down the abandoned part of the subway, and that's where Robert breaks through the wall, and then the alien monster gets him. It's this exact animation, essentially.
Wow, that's funny. Ghosts like chocolate, like choco cheese.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. That's 5. But they don't know that, so it could stay probably
If you know,
4.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so anyway, right, now I can appreciate the Easter egg. Thank you, French guy, for the save pack. I really got lucky on that, because ScumVM has different saves than DOS, and usually you find DOS saves but not Scum, but that all just worked out nicely for me. And so what? Where are we at?
We were just at the subway, and then you end up after all that, you end up in this room where you end up you use the robot. Remember, you have to do a little puzzle with him, and then you end up in this room with these tanks.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for putting us back on track there. 2 things. I wrote down here that I love a good adventure game losing its mind at the end, because that is happening again.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got to do an episode on that. We definitely have. We now have probably 2 episodes worth.
Yeah.
It's a time-honored tradition of adventure games. Just kind of, and it unraveled quickly in this one. It was just as soon as you see the pulsing veins everywhere and the clones and such, it's like, okay, it's doing that thing. I love it. There's a really sincere moment in this. So you find like a what would you say, like a medical bot, like a med bot that you can put Joey's brain into, and you power Joey up, and he doesn't sound like Joey at all, which was upsetting to me. Okay, right, you didn't have the talkie, so to you he just always sounded like Joey. See, again, the non-talkie is definitely better because they fuck Joey with the talkie. I'll get into that more later, but for this iteration of Joey, it's the first degradation of him where he doesn't sound like himself anymore, and it was really upsetting. And when he powers on, the line is, he's like, are you sure you're the Joey that I grew up with? And he's like, yeah, I don't have the same syntactic abilities or some sort of
syntax,
sci-fi. Yeah. And then he's like, you don't sound like him. And there was just something sad about it. It was just like, are you sure? And it was great too, because it plays into like this mistrust vibe too. Like, is this Joey? Like, everything down here is creepy and weird, and now I can't really trust if it's Joey or not.
I loved it. I loved how he had to talk within a limited framework, and it reminds me of something I can't talk about in a future Phantom Fellows game. It reminds me of one of your characters
right.
that has to talk with it. There's this character in the game that has to talk within a very specific circumstance of words in a very specific way, just due to the nature of employment, and those constraints, I think, makes conversation more interesting no matter what it's about.
Right. Wow, that's so cool. I didn't think about that at all. Nice, good shout. Okay.
So yeah, you end up there, but you end up, so there's all these weird tanks, and each of these tanks have, as it says it in a very British way, fetuses inside each of them. So he's a little bit weirded out by this whole idea.
Right, exactly. We've officially got like sci-fi tanks full of bodies. You're looking through a vent, and you can see. The vent was done really well, by the way, because you can't ever see the guy's face. The way he walks around is perfectly covered by one of the vent things. Anyway, you talk to Joey, you send Joey in there to kind of tag team this guy. My note says, oh, Joey fucking shanked a guy. So Joey steals a guy. And then my next one says, damn, Joey, you crazy. Because he
is.
Anyway, apparently this scene gave me Blackwell vibes. Crystal in Space has Chandler vibes this time from Blackwell.
Oh, that crystal. Yeah, because
right.
you have to put the tuning fork on the crystal for the resonance.
Yes, it does look just like a scene out of Blackwell, for sure.
It really does. Tuning forks, as a quick side, has a big impact on my life. My mom was a choir conductor growing up, and she would use a tuning fork at every one of our practices. And what she would do is she would take it and she would listen by her ear, or she would put it on her wrist to tap it. She'd listen by her ear, and if she wanted everybody in the room to hear it, she'd just place it on the grand piano, and the sound of it would resonate through the wood and the piano, and everybody in the room could hear it. So puzzles like this, using the resonance and the tuning fork to interact or to change another object, was very cool for me.
Yes. No, same here. Fuck it, fifth or sixth reference now, but anybody who's finished Phantom Fellas at the end there's a lot of interest and resonance going on there. Fuck, is this game like mine? There's like a lot of...
There's a lot, right? And this is... Okay, hang on. Now, just for the record, when was the first time you played this game, Paul?
Just this week, I promise.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so they've got a lot of influence from you or you through them because perhaps time travel is involved in some way.
Exactly. Probably okay, and then speaking of tuning forks, probably the most like whack, unexplainable, crazy shit that's ever happened in my life is that I used a 432 or a 528 hertz tuning fork to heal myself of a hemorrhoid. No, right. That's not right. Wait, hemorrhoid's the one that sticks out of your butthole, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be hilarious if that was the right one.
I was picturing.
And now I wish it was.
Now don't take away that image. Just leave it right there. I don't even want to know what the real story is anymore.
I'm gonna leave it there. Please, kids, if you have a hemorrhoid, buy a tuning fork and put it just right up your ass.
People are going to be curious. What was the story, Paul? Now I do want to know.
Look, this doesn't make any rational sense, and that makes me uncomfortable. But okay. What's that thing called where your intestines poke through your abdomen wall?
Right. Hang on. Hernia.
Thank you. Okay, I'm glad it's close.
Right.
Yeah. I put that on my thing. I laid down on the bed. I put it like on different spots, rung it, right, because cymatics occur at 432 and 528, not exclusively, but so that's why I bought those two frequencies. I put it on my thing, rung it a few times, relaxed and breathed, and then got a CAT scan or whatever. Not a CAT scan, a
CT scan?
Not that either. No. What a pregnant woman
MRI?
What do you give ultrasound?
Ultrasound, yeah.
A week or two later, and it was gone.
Sweet.
And it doesn't make any sense. That's not how they work. You're supposed to need like mesh and like surgery and all kinds of stuff. And it never came back. And I work out my core a lot. Like it's really one of the most unexplainably weird things that's ever happened to me. So
right.
There's tuning forks for you. Get it put in you.
They are magical. Resonance of sound resonance and magnetics. If you were to really go on a hunt to think about, and this could be a whole episode in and of its own, is the use of alternative theories in adventure games.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. The stuff. Anyways, there's so much to it you could discover about the Earth if you could just, like, for example, like I've mentioned to you, Coral Castle. You start looking in how ley lines and magnetics and things influence how you interact with the world. I think you can discover a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun rabbit holes in that direction for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But back to this episode, you're discovering a whole bunch of pretty horrible stuff, and you're trying to figure out what the heck to do with it. So there's a little link machine that's out there.
Right, the little link machine, that's where
you have to access to turn something on or off or open something. That's
where you get to the big crystal in space thing, which again, at this point, I'd just like to know from Ben Chandler, like how much influence this game had on him in general, right? Because I'm seeing it pop up quite a bit. If the answer was none, then like my bad, but like yeah.
So the next puzzle's kind of funny. You end up in this room with all these like little swimming meat pieces, like they're just tissue that hasn't been, like you would look at them and you would think they were lungs or kidneys. It's kind of like something like that has kind of happened if you think about cloning, and they're talking about being able to regrow things on bodies. Like it's actually a pretty modern idea, but each of them they're hooked up to a feed system in the tank, which I was thinking made me think of the tank in Buddy's room because he had the fish and the fish tank in his room.
Mm-hmm.
And he works in through all of this, that if he had access or knew about it, there might be a connection there. Who knows? Just in a little bit of canon. But it's the randomest puzzle to me because you've got all these tissues in a tank, and you've got like this huge open tank with like, what is it? The nitrous. We always forget the name of it. We've talked about it on episodes. Nitrogen, liquid nitrogen. Thank you,
nice.
Anna. and you
You really had your back there.
It really did. Good for me. And then you dip one of these in it, and it's just frozen. And then I thought it was going to be like a puzzle in Monkey Island or something where it melts but
Right.
it turns out it stays frozen. So there was no time crunch there.
Right.
It just becomes an inventory item. But then you have to do the whole next bit is really interesting.
It
Actually,
was
Paul,
really
why don't you
cool.
tell me a little bit? I'm just so curious what you think about this next part. Because I
Okay.
have some opinions on it too. So. And how you got it to happen, right? Because you have to put him into something new, your little buddy there, and all you have around you is empty meat sacks of human forms.
Yeah. Okay. So, first thing of interest is that you learn that Joey is 84,039 megabytes.
Yeah.
So Joey is essentially, what is that? He's 84 gigs.
93,051 megabytes for RAM function.
Nice.
When you go to download him.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you download Joey's chip to this clone, and that's when you find out that he's 84,000 megabytes, which is interesting. So I'm just curious, or was curious from the writer's perspective, what they would guesstimate a futuristic robot's data allocation would be, and they landed on 84 gigs, which
Right.
I don't
or
know.
in my version, it was 9,351.
Oh, that's so weird. We had different amounts.
Yeah.
Because mine was 84,039, like so specifically.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Huh. Okay, well, I'm trying to decide if I want to share. Okay, so we put Joey in a clone.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So that was what we were getting at there. Is we use this card and we upload it into a clone. My experience from this, I guess it's not that different from the talkie to the regular because you have the same dialogue I do. It's not like the voice changes it. But I didn't love how different Joey became here.
Right.
What did you think of that?
Well, all of a sudden he had a whole mission in life. Remember what it was, too? It was to make, what was it? When did he say that? I wrote it in my notes. His mission is to make Ken synonymous with dorks. Which is funny because it could be a play on Ken Williams. And then, but he became like all knowing and omnipotent, that word, omnipotent, you know the word I mean.
Omnipotent, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he was all knowing and he went from being like a cheeky little robot to, well, I don't really like it. And it's all like, whatever. But then it's kind of funny, too, because the first thing you do to help him solve a puzzle, you're like, go push the button, and his hand gets stuck, and he rips off his whole arm, which makes it a little bit funnier.
I think I would like to take a moment to talk about the amount of data in sperm. Because...
Yeah, didn't you look this up before, Paul? Don't
did.
you actually? I think you have real numbers for us.
I do. I
right?
have some good numbers for you guys. Because, again, I thought it was interesting to think, what would you guesstimate that a future robot would require? How much data would be required to have... something like a Joey in the future. And again, they came up with somewhere around 90 gigabytes rounded between the two of our different versions, which is weird. Anyway, so DNA has information, has code stored in it, right? So that's the premise in which we're able to derive how much data would be required because you can reduce DNA down to data. A single sperm cell has 750 to 800 megabytes of sperm. So that's just each sperm has 800 megabytes of sperm. So now it gets a little gross, but bear with me here. I'm going to use medical terms, so it'll be fine. The average ejaculation, still a little funny, has 100 million to 300 million sperm in total in it.
Right.
Let's say it was a particularly voluminous ejaculation, and it had 300 million sperm, the higher end. That turns out to be 240 terabytes of data.
Wow. You'd be like, that's high end for sure.
Yeah. So
that's a big value. That'd be a lot of storage.
I like hearing Anna not say the things she's thinking, but that's a lot of storage. Like that's
just in terms of data.
Anyway, it's on a mature note. It's rather fascinating how efficient biology is at storing data and information. It's
right, in a very small
unutterably
space.
complex.
That's, I mean, once you can see, like in a game like that, they're trying to combine things with being organic. That's really the goal. If you want to contain a huge amount of data in a very small space, it needs to be organic matter. So that's the integration we've been talking about the whole time, and we're leading into a pretty intense and revelatory version of it. So if you don't want the absolute spoilers at the end of the game, well, you probably are going to stick around by now if you've made it this far anyways. But just know, this is the end-all, be-all spoiler bits coming now.
Right, exactly. So yeah, no more sperm or anything like that. We're just the facts at this point from here on out. So yeah, Joey he gets a human body.
Yeah. And he gets his hand broken off when it gets stuck on a button, and you leave him behind. Yes. And you take your frozen meat on your tongs. Exactly. And you wander off in search of orifices.
Right, exactly. We're just pushing our way to the center of this pulsing, sprawling, organic mess that's taken over the subways and making our way to the core. We finally get to the core, and we enter the room, and we see a shriveled, frail old man with
We're not there yet, though. First, we have to do the orifice thing. First, to get to that room, right. you have to drop your frozen meat into the orifice in this organic room, and what it does is it poisons the sludge. So you're like, what is this meat made out of? Like, the system that is designed to contain the meat, if it's frozen, when purged back into the lava-like boiling gastric juice of a system, poisons the system itself. That's kind of weird, actually.
Does that make sense? Nope.
No, I didn't make sense to me.
The puzzle didn't make sense either. I didn't know why I was taking flesh or freezing it. I don't understand any of that at all.
It shouldn't make it poisonous, the point is. So you do that, and yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, well, and poisoning it doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
It just doesn't bother you now, so you can swing on a rope, is literally all it does.
Yeah, that whole thing, I still don't even really get that at all. Like, I don't know. Mm. But hey, it's a thing that happened, and it feels Space Quest 60 for a second. You know, you're kind of like crawling through insides and whatever. But and at this point, the game's definitely the art to me starts to feel more dystopian, right? There's just like meat, and it's just very
organic and
hopeless and gross, and yeah.
And in the last room that you end up in, to me, all of the veins are like they've converted. This is what I thought was really cool, because the veins and everything were really meaty everywhere else. But when you get to the main room, there's this guy hooked up to all of them, and they turn into wires. So they're like organic, veiny, also wires at the same time as they go into him, to this guy who ends up being the start of everything, of what's going on, the mind virus itself, as well as do the big reveal
that it's his father. Dun. But I mean, you saw it coming, right? Like that's because and actually I don't know if they dropped the ball or if they purposely revealed it, but like 20 minutes earlier when when Joey stabs the guy, that guy said something about a family reunion. Oh yeah, and then Joey spells it out, right? Because he's like, well, your mom's dead, so it's like we do know it's going to be the dad. It was a little weird that they gave that up at the last, like right before the reveal, but at the same time, I think we all kind of saw it coming anyway. But yeah, it's your dad. He's hooked up to the thing. And
Did you notice all the dead guys the first time? Because it wasn't, honestly, until I went back over it later and I was replaying the ending because I was trying to figure some stuff in it, that I even noticed them.
Right. No, I did notice that right away. It looked like a chairman, Not chairman, the board.
The board itself.
Yeah, so not just a great Carrot Top movie, by the way. Sorry.
And it's another like timed puzzle that ends up like the game actually, when it stops very abruptly. The next thing you know, like your dad's on the floor, and if you end up in the chair, you die.
Spelled B-O-R-E-D for any Norm fans out there. Okay, sorry.
Very good. No, that's good. You needed to do that. And if you click the right place at the right time, which is on your buddy, then it doesn't go that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Your dad gives you a good little expo dump about how this was interesting. That your dad is the one that shot down your helicopter and tried to kill you and your mom, But
just to stop you from having to suffer the pain
Yes.
of very existence and the situation.
Okay, so in that moment, I was super in love with the ending of this game. I thought it was, and I still thought it was a great ending. As a matter of fact, I think the final act redeems all of the shortcomings of any previous issues, because it was a really good final act. But I really like that, because it has you really thinking, like, what would you do faced in that sort of situation? Like, you know that your son, and to clarify for the listeners, like, the only person that could take the dad's place is his son, because he has the DNA required. His dad was the one that made Link, so only somebody of the same DNA could take his dad's place once his dad's too old to be hooked up to it and you know, starved by it or used by it, I guess you could say. Which is now all of a sudden we realized what the purpose was, why we had to be taken in alive and not dead, and why they wanted us to begin with. It's so we could take our dying dad's place by sitting in this chair with this helmet attached to our brains, while Link, you know, essentially uses us as like a nexus to, I don't know, it's almost like the opposite of AI, like we're OI, like organic intelligence for everybody else or whatever. So the dad's like, I wouldn't want my son, this is a fate worse than death.
Yeah.
And in the circumstances in which you're facing a fate worse than death for your own child, would you do what that dad did, which was try to kill them?
Right.
I'm not prepared to answer that, but it's a great question.
It's a great question to think about, though.
Yeah, really good. And the helicopter crash, again, it killed the mom, but it wasn't able to kill him. I thought that was all really good and well, and I just want your thoughts on this. Once you get the dad out of the machine, there's like a close-up animation of the dad talking, and
like
his eyes are being
Manhunter,
weird.
Yeah.
All that dialogue, I felt like kind of fucked up everything that just happened, because then the dad becomes more just villainous.
Right, because he let the machine kill his mother, essentially.
Right.
And he did it on purpose. And he's like, but it was the greatest experiment I've ever devised. And he's all like, it was about exploring the potential of the brain. And you're like, but you did this purposely, because at first we didn't think it happened on purpose. And he's
Right,
like, well,
thank
yeah, that was my plan the whole time. And you're like, but that's like, what did he accused him of being like a megalomaniac.
Yeah, right.
His son, right? And he's like, no, but it was all good. But yeah, he blamed humans even right up until the end, because he said the whole reason everything failed was because of the human element that ended up getting put into the machine. And so the machine became a monster because the monster was the human, and then it all ends in that note, right? Because he's like, well, who is the real monster here, right? And then it's weird, right? Because the dad's like, yeah, but you're the only reason I wanted to live. And it's like, yeah, but you just tried to kill him.
Yeah, it was contrasting tones. Like they should have just left it as it was, where you think that you kind of think that this experiment got away from the dad and took him over and made him hostage to it. And then the dad, in a somewhat heroic move, as dark as it is, tries to kill his own kid to spare him this fate worse than death. Like that was all just such a great dystopian thing to leave you thinking about as the credits roll. But then instead they just keep going, and they make him sound like overtly villainous, and then the dad unsatisfyingly just dies in the middle of talking.
Right there.
And
that was it.
It was just like Robert, whatever his name is, says something like really mean to the dad, and then the dad dies, and it's just I don't know, the whole thing just like they kind of dropped that ball at the last second. It was so close to being like this really amazing dystopian ending, and like they didn't know when to just hush. So I didn't.
Actually, it's funny. The ending was they gave it a further ending where they showed you that you and your buddy are now ruling the place because your dad isn't. But it doesn't actually say how it's better for anybody or helps anybody or is any different for anybody. It just is. This is the new people now.
Yeah. So okay. So that's like as Anna just said, there's like another ending after it, and this ending I liked. This helped palate cleanse, I guess, what I didn't like.
Soothe the savage beast.
Yes, exactly. Yes, like calm music. It was. I think they achieved what you just said, Anna, visually, because now that Joey is at the center of Link, suddenly instead of this room full of dead bodies and veins everywhere, it's like very clean. And Joey just says one line when that opens, which is he's like finishing up a task, and you can tell that he's now optimizing life.
Yeah.
He's like optimizing, I don't know, making sure the trains run on time, let's just say. Like Joey's like the good face of things, doing yes, he's still running Link, but now Link's like aimed high, so it's doing good things for everybody.
Right, that's true, because there's now positions opening up in jobs instead of being forced into careers and stuff.
Right, exactly. Which honestly paints the dad as even more of a villain, because it goes to show whoever was in that chair could have made a difference, I guess.
Yeah, and couldn't and didn't, because he did it weird, because again, humans were the problem the whole time.
It does kind of break a little bit of the story too, in the sense that like a lot of this, I mean, unless I'm missing something, actually, I'm just thinking of this now. Like the whole point of the game is that they need Robert, they need you to
and then Robert
take your
leaves,
dad's
though.
place because you
He
have the
doesn't even
DNA.
stay. Like he goes, he's like, I'm going to go back to the Gap. I'm going to miss it here, but bye.
Right,
See ya.
exactly, and more so, why could Joey take his place then? I thought they needed Robert because of the DNA, and without that, Link would shut down. But then
Right.
it accepts Joey, so I don't understand that necessarily. But it's okay. I promise I did like the ending despite all this, because at the end of the day, I like how he says, like, let's be vigilant or whatever, like, Ready Player One sort of vibes. And then he basically just says goodbye to his friends. Like, Joey's found his meaning and his place. It's a bittersweet sort of thing where he's able to walk away, and he does go back to the Gap where he feels that he belongs. And it reminds me of
Even though his home was entirely destroyed and all the people he loves.
Yeah. I'd actually like to hear from our old co-host and friend Rick on this, because I feel like this was his kind of ending, where it's like it doesn't sew everything up with a bow or button or whatever that phrase is. It's like a little bit bittersweet, but at the same time it's appropriate. Yeah. Anyway, I really liked it. It was a great game.
Yeah, great game. I would play again, but I probably won't. But I mean,
Right,
in the idea of it, time permitting, were I to sit and play a game again, this would definitely be on the table as one of my options.
Yeah, but it's not. But it would be in this
Right.
hypothetical. Yeah.
Right. In a non-dystopian future.
Yeah, and right. The only dystopian game I've ever played that takes place in the daytime.
That's true.
But yeah, okay, so we're all done. Play it if you haven't. I couldn't imagine wanting to play it after listening to this.
No.
Like, that's enough Steel Sky for everybody for a long time. The original name for this was Underworld, based on Ultima Underworld, because they really like that game.
Right.
They started working on Beyond the Steel Sky, which was the sequel for this game. They started working on that immediately in '95, but then put it aside. Beyond the Steel Sky came out. It actually was one of the games that was highlighted in Apple's launch of the Apple Arcade, or whatever they call it. And so anyway, there is a sequel, from what I understand, because I haven't played it, so no spoilers here. From what I understand, Beyond the Steel Sky takes on like probably more of like a Blade Runner 2049 vibe, where like it doesn't take up right after it. It takes up like years later, while also recognizing the origins and things like that. So I don't know. It sounds interesting, but I'm not rushing out to play it. And that's it. That's all I got.
All right. Hang on. Paul disappeared. I don't think I'm supposed to say that, but he's not here momentarily. So I had a few things that I wanted to mention before the end of this episode. For one, I want to make sure that anybody who's thinking about going to PAX, which is in September, or PRGE, which is in October, check it out, because the Roberta Von Retro Adventures exhibits are going to be up. So at PAX, there's going to be an FMV zone, much like at the PRGE last year. And there's going to be some panels featuring Phantasmagoria folks. And at PRGE, there's also going to be panels, one of which is even hosted by myself and One Short Eye. And it's going to have a few people you might know, Dave Gilbert, Paul Corman, few other people, Dan Policar, potentially Robert Holmes. It's going to be a whole thing, so come out there and check it out. Outside of that, things are moving on the Phantom Fellows front. I'm going to be doing some more beta testing, games being made, things happening, this game, that. If you haven't played it, play the first Phantom Fellows, and then all of those references, the 6 to 8 of them that there were during the episode, will make much more sense to you. And I want to take a second to say thank you to our Patreons, without which we wouldn't be able to make this happen or afford the various things that we do that cost money to make this happen. And thank you to our new Patreoners, That Emo Bitch, Evan Lynch,
Nice.
Doug Harris. I loved it too. Eno, Robert, Malcontent Matt. I appreciate you joining and supporting us there as well. Malcontent Matt is a $5 joiner, so thank you so much for that. And to our everybody who's listening by this point, just has to be patient with me. This is just the way it is right now because I'm using my phone.
Okay.
You can all know that. It's fine. Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Mick. Thank you. Who are you? Mr. Breakfast. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the club. Thank you, Mark and Brian Chapman, Christopher, Yanis, Tim, and for making it even easier for us to continue to do this, especially, and for being in our True Believer tier. Yay.
Yay, thanks, guys.
And I think, and we have socials. You can find us online. We're a page, we're a group, the Classic Gamers Guild. You can tell by my order I'm not looking at anything right now. You can email us at don'tdoamurder.com. You can find us on Twitter at Phantom Fellows. Huh?
Ah, nice.
And Classic Gamers Guild podcast. You can find us on Mastodon and Blue Sky and just sort of shout our name into the void and something might come back at you.
Nice. Don't do murder.
Hi, and thanks for listening. Today, Paul, I'm not going to say that again. I don't know where that came from. Just out of the blue, I went back in time for just a moment, but I'm back now.
I like how when you do intros, whatever you say surprises you.
Maybe don't put that dream at the end.
Yeah, there's just thinking that. Yeah, that one's a little... that's probably a little on the nose.
It's on something.